to welcome you to our next panel here with the title Layers of Time and Relations in Virtual and Analog Spaces. My name is Raphael Dernbach. I'm a researcher at University of Cambridge in Screen and Media Studies. And when I was invited for the panel, I asked myself, okay, why is it important to talk today about layers of time and relations? And my first thought was, okay, there's a drastic change, in which we perceive time, but also a change in which we perceive space. And I was reading a book at this moment by a German professor who is teaching at Stanford, by Hans-Ulrich Gumbrecht. And the book is called Our Broad Present. And in the book, he argues that the way in which we structure time, our chronotype of the 21st century, has radically changed. Instead of the present being a point in time, a linear point in time, it has become something broader, like a diversity of temporal realities in which we live today. And when I was walking around here, I saw all those VR experiments, all those performances, and I saw they are actually manifestations of this broad present moment that we're all facing. And I'm very happy today to discuss this broad present and what theater and the digital arts can do to explore it with my guests here. Theater as the art form of making things present, I think, is particularly prone for that. And I'd like to introduce my guests to you. To my left here is Kai Vogels. He is the managing director of Schauspiel Dortmund, and I think he's doing this since 2010. And he's going to present a recent work of his, which is called Borderline Procession, a theater piece that actually addresses some of those issues of digital spaces, of digital temporalities. Then I have here Sarah Lisa to the very right. Sarah, wait a second. Sarah Lisa Vogel from VR Nerds, which is a German-speaking news site. I think I can say the most important news site on virtual reality in Germany right now. She's also going to talk about a piece called Lucid Trips and a space for VR that she has founded in Hamburg. And then there's Holle Münster, who's part of the directors collective called Prinzip Gonzo. So she is a trained theater director who is very much interested in digital spaces and digital performances as well. And she's here, her collective made a piece for performation called Rewonderland. And we're going to start this panel with short introductions of the works of each of them. And I would like to ask Sarah Lisa to start with it. So tell us a little bit about your work and how it ties to digital space and temporalities.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. And I'm from Hamburg, as you said already. We have the German news blog VRNerds.de, and that's where we slightly came into the community, getting more and more interested in VR since the DK1, since the Oculus Rift DK1, which was in 2013. And since then, we started to develop our game, Lucid Trips, which is an experimental game. I did a talk on it on Tuesday, I guess. It was a locomotion method where you walk around in planetary dream worlds, where you completely are free and can explore your surrounding, like art pieces and different stuff in that environment, like hide and seek artifacts. That's where I came into the whole VR scene, but by now we also did a performance. It's called Disconnected, where we disconnect ourselves from the real world to the virtual world. I did that experiment first in January with Thorsten in the Game Science Center, where he was 48 hours in VR. It was kind of a marathon, living through several worlds, meeting different people in different rooms in different worlds. And we did kind of that Monday and Tuesday at the media convention, where we were in 4-hour slots. The whole 2 days, always 4-hour slots in VR, meeting people, meeting each other, doing things yeah, just like experiencing different worlds, different realities.
And what would you say is like the biggest challenge for you when working on Lucid Dreams on that game?
Oh, the biggest challenge. Actually, it's a lot of challenges because nothing was right there, so it still has to be explored. The medium has to be explored. What works and what doesn't has to be explored, and also we are targeting a very experimental way to move around in that virtual world with our locomotion method, and that's why we experiment a lot. So we changed that method that we use during the years like a lot of times to just figure out what keeps people comfortable in the worlds, what makes them sick, what like lets them free, and what already constrains them too much in exploring and free exploration. That's what you want to do.
Yeah, I think that could lead us to your work, Holle, which is also very much about experimental movements in space, right? Maybe you can tell us a little bit about Reborn Island and your work with the collective, with the Princip Gonzo collective in more general.
Reborn Island is a project we designed especially for this place and for the performersion. We designed it together with Toto. They wrote the software we are using, and Omnidome. They designed the visual effects, and it's a game where you can play a scavenger, it's like a scavenger hunt. You play on your own smartphone with the Toto app, and you walk through the Wonderland. It's Alice Wonderland, and you have to save Wonderland within 45 minutes. And most of the time, you play your own game, but in the end, everybody, the whole community has to play together to win, actually. And that's what's very important for us, that with software or with technology and digital elements, we organize teams and groups, not only our own group, Princip Gonzo. The whole theatrical space is organized through software, for example, in Spiel des Lebens. That's the first project we developed 2 or 3 years ago, 2 years ago, that we call it an open world simulation, where you could play a live within 3.5 hours. With 60 other people, you had the possibility to play a live in a world we designed, and every decision you take is the condition for the next step you make, from the beginning in school until you have to die in the end. There's a lot to say about it. You want?
Oh yeah, I think we can go on to the next piece. I think there will be plenty of time to talk about it in more detail. Your piece, Kai, is also about the merging of digital and of analog spaces, or I would say maybe the non-existence of the border between those two spaces and temporalities. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what the starting point for the project was.
Yeah, hello everyone. I read a book from Douglas Rushkoff called Present Shock, and he told about that everything happens at the same time on different places, and we're right now in our present are under shock. The Twitter and Facebook give us information, the news and my neighbor, and the football and the World War and the terrorists, and we try to make a story about it, but this story doesn't exist, or we aren't able anymore to have a story of similarities. And I thought about maybe the theater has to create a room where different stories happened at the same times, and to figure out storytelling is matter of perspective. You can see one thing on the one side, and on the other side something totally different. While a couple having sex, an old woman is dying, and someone going to work, and everything happens at the same time. So we created a stage with 10 rooms and 25 actors, and the audience had the opportunity to choose a place what they would like to see. Would they like to see in the kitchen, or in the bathroom, or outside the house? And at the same time, a camera dolly is going around the set. And now the audience has the opportunity to watch the real thing, what's happening directly in front of their faces, or to watch the point of view of the camera, who's always turning around. And during this happening of 3 hours or 3.5 hours, the timeline will change, and sometimes you see things happened 2 hours before or a half hour before, and you always have to figure out what is my position. And I think it sounds a little bit abstract. I have a 1-minute trailer for you, and we can watch this, then you can make your better picture of this. Yeah. Please show the movie.
In der Mitte des Pfades unseres Lebens fand ich mich in einem dunklen Wald.
Die Taliban kämpfen gegen die Mujahedin in Amerika, aber...
Was sind das für Zeiten, wo ein Gespräch über Bäume fast ein Verbrechen ist, weil es ein Schweigen über so viele Untaten einschließt.
Zuerst komme ich.
Dann kommst du.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, there was a very interesting sneak preview into that. What I found very interesting about the piece is that you cannot see everything at once, right? Everything happens at the same time, so the viewer has to decide which path to take, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you can say something to that, to this decision.
Yeah, I don't think that the normal way of narrative telling work right now. And I believe that theater is a present art. It means a book, I can read a book 200 years ago was written, and I read it right now, or a movie is 50 years old. Theater only happens in the present, right now. And so the opportunity of theater is that it deals about present also. And I think right now we have to learn that the problems are everyone, a lot of people become more radical, and they have their point of view, and they say this is the way how we deal with the refugees. But I think this radicalism, if we want to do something against them, we have to show different perspectives, and to say it's not so easy, this one view. And if you have one view, then you miss another view. And this is called borderline protection, because there's a big border in the middle of the room. And I thought we can discuss the problems of refugees as a point, from the point of view from Europe. But it would be better we discuss this from the point of Europe and also from the point of Syria. Then we maybe become a little wiser. And so we have to know that we aren't able to understand everything, but we have to try. And I think this you can feel in this evening borderline procession.
Thank you. I think this crisis of narrative and this crisis of perspective, of a single perspective, is something that also very well ties into your work. How would you say, for instance, in this game, you said, in the end, everybody has to collaborate. A single perspective is not enough to solve the game in the end. How would you relate to what Kai has said in the sense of the crisis of the narrative or the crisis of the single perspective? Does that play a role in your work as a theater director?
I would say yes, because we create models of actual situations, as for example in Spiel des Lebens, we designed a simulation of the real world in an abstract form, or a model where we also reflect the actual situation, and by playing it or through playing it, you first have the experience and dive into it. It's an immersive experience, but in the end, of course, we want to have the reflection moment by every player on the real world. And since you are really depending on working together sometimes in the game, that's very important for us, that the software is not for Individualisierung.
It's not individualized?
Not only individualizing, we also want to create moments where we realize, everybody realizes we are depending on each other. We have to work together for a good experience in the end. That's what we try to say. The next thing we are working on is Monipolo. That's a game about designing founding a company, and becoming the leader of the world market, and fucking the finance system. That's what we try to do, or the player has to do. And I think we are all aware of that crisis in these narratives. They are obviously, but I think through playing it on your own, you have a completely different perspective on it. As you said, it's a good game for, or we love the situation that you have the possibility for a perspective you haven't had before, and you can play it, and at the same time you really experience it, but it's framed by a theatrical situation.
Yeah, I think play and collaboration also play a crucial role in your work. How would you relate to this crisis of perspectivity?
Well, yeah, exactly in our project, so in Lucid Trips, we just want to like give the player the perspective of another dreamlike avatar who just has two hands, two ghost-like hands, and is actually no one, but can be totally free and can live that dream world that we saw and that we want to create for the people. So it's actually just our perspective of a dream world that the player can move totally free around in. But the whole VR medium, I guess, is a lot about changing of perspective. I mean, that's very obvious, but there are a lot of projects, for example, also this amazing Doghouse project, which is right here. So I tried that like already a year ago, and I can't like stop talking about it because it's like so, yeah, very clear that you live the story from one perspective, and then you talk to other people who live the story from other perspectives, and then afterwards you change your perspective and live the same story from another perspective again, and see totally different things. So there's a lot of experiments also in VR. For example, a project, it's called Be Another Lab, and they're changing perspectives. It's also with, for example, a mother and a daughter who are in a really deep fight and don't understand each other, so which you also like really want to do in real life. So I really want to slip in your perspective just for one day. I would love to do that. And that's also what just keeps me going in general on VR, because I think that's definitely a crucial point also in society or in civilization in general, to have like that open view for other perspectives. And I think VR is like a medium to train that, or to just keep that forward and to show that to people also. So in our game, it's not like that much about changing of perspectives. It's actually just the way you experience the dream world is just like your perspective, the way you choose, the way you go and see different things. But yeah, in general, there's yeah, a lot of potential in perspective changes.
Kai, I know that you've been taking part in some workshops here as well. And talking about VR in theater, I would like to ask you, what kind of potential do you see for theater in VR, and maybe vice versa?
I think theater, the evolution of theater was always an evolution of technology. In the beginning, in Greek, they have candle lights, then electric lights came in, and technical things on stage, and photography, movie. Now we have computers and VR, so theater will grow up with all these new technologies. I think first of all we can learn to think in a new way through this technology, to think in 360 degree, and to think in a new way of dealing with the audience. They are a part of it. This immersive. They are players or actors, or can be players and actors also. For me, my interest is right now, how is it possible this 360-degree camera push live on a stage, not with these VR glasses, to big video walls that you can go inside, and also what's happening with an actor who become transformed in an avatar. So it is real-time body tracking, the future maybe for some parts in a theater. There I'm looking for.
So you basically propose a theater not about technology, but very much with technology. Or
I think it's both. The present is it's the Inhalt, the content, and the method also. So we can try to deal with the new technologies, or to talk or discuss about these problems or possibilities.
I've another question for you, Holle. Theater has a long tradition also in questioning immersion and the immersive potential of a scene. And I think with virtual reality devices, you see that immersion is becoming a much, much stronger phenomenon. What do you think VR artists can learn from theater in the sense how to deal with immersion and its responsibilities?
That's a question I actually haven't thought about in that way, because we are not using virtual reality in our projects. We create virtual reality, but in an analog space. So it's not really virtual. It's theater. So. What VR artists? Whom do you mean with by saying VR artists?
I think the question was more. Or you want to say something to that?
Oh, actually, I was just thinking about the whole 360 thing, but it was not like actually about immersion. But that also interests me a lot, because it's like we are dealing with immersion right now, but I'm actually from a communication designs background, so not like dealing so much with like narratives and stuff like you do, for example, but it's still like we have to think of, so how do you get that person into that situation? How do you not break immersion? Also, apart from all the technical details that you have to be aware of, so like not breaking frame rates and stuff like that, which breaks immersion, but also like other things in the living of the player. So what could break immersion there? I think it's a definitely very interesting point, and a point where also these different areas like could
to answer on that, maybe that's also an answer for your question. We are often questioning our work, how we deal with in-game or out-game situations. So what breaks the illusion? How can we explain the game situation to the player without destroying the whole story? And that's actually not very easy. You don't want to bore people with organization stuff. You want to keep the reality you are trying to create up. And that's a bit tricky, actually, and always walk on the edge, as we also experienced yesterday when they were focused on the players on their iPhones, and we thought, oh, we should help them. But how do you talk to the people as a character? How do you react on an actual problem? Because you have two realities. You have the narrative of Wonderland, and you have the actual problem, and it's a very challenging to get that together, actually. Sometimes it doesn't really work, but if it works, it's a cool experience, yeah.
I guess that we have that as well in these situations where people are in VR with the headset on, and you cannot really interrupt them, because then they also like get kicked off there. I think that's nearly the same, just like with the goggles on, you can't even see anyone anymore around you.
As we did in Spiel des Lebens, we had the school, and in the school we had a teacher, and the teacher would tell how life works in our world. So this was organization and school experience in one.
So it's basically also a conflation. So the digital space and the analog space become closer to each other, or more intermixed, you would say? Or is there in your games, is there still a distinction between a digital and an analog space?
No, because we don't hide the digital space. It makes it easier for us to organize communities, but we don't hide it. We show it, and the players sometimes realize, oh, I'm supervised, and that's also something we want to tell about our world we live in. We reflect on the actual chance and problem of the internet or supervision. So, no, we don't deny that within the story. We shouldn't do that. It's part of our life, and why denying it? We have to tell something about it. So.
Is it also something that you're concerned with, showing technology as technology and not hiding it?
Yeah, sure. We using technology in Dortmund in our theater. If it's a part of the discussion or a way of telling something, we had. After Hamlet, in the end, it was about big data and grabbing informations. Instead of the applause at the end, we had a Twitter wall, and the people in the audience could give their feedbacks through Twitter. They also gave us their Twitter account or their telephone numbers. So after that, we can come in contact with them, or we made a production where we captured body data from the actors during they speaking literature, and with these body data we made light and videos and sounds. So the digital possibilities becomes part of the play, and it's my dream is that we can search more in the theater, because it's cost a lot of money. Right now in Dortmund we have a programmer. He's part of like an actor or a costume designer, so we have someone who's specialized in programming, and it's important for the theater right now. And we need to play with these 360-degree cameras. We need to play with the VR glasses to figure out what is the possibilities of these new technologies for the theater of the present and maybe for the theater of the future.
To that 360 thing, I just wanted to say before, that's also actually exactly the thing we try to figure out in VR. So there are a lot of people making 360 videos. I'm not actually one of them, but I'm in contact with a lot of them. It's just a thing that there's one way to like look around everywhere and then just miss the half of the story or something, or just have something like a program when you look at something also like I guess Alex, no, he's already gone already, but there are also two boys who did like an experiment, a 360 video where you look at different people and then exactly they start to talk, because you gotta have kind of a thing that you don't give the user the feeling that he misses like too much if he looks away from something, or that he just like gets some kind of narrative into that. So maybe with gaze or with view or with like these visual effects that trigger your view or your gaze, and also acoustic effects that trigger your view. So that you just have to look somewhere because you get all that 360 view, and you can look around everywhere, and when everywhere is happening something, I think that's also something which would fit into a kind of a theater performance, to make that thing that we experience so much in VR visible or something. Because it's just when you record a 360 video, it's always like that everywhere is something going on, but it's kind of like in reality, but you don't feel it like that, because normally when you watch a movie, you're used to that you see everything that is recorded there for you and that you have to experience right now.
Yeah. I think in the theater we try to tell contents, to figure out how what the world force, what's going on, how it's work, and these content or these questions are the center of the artist's work, and the digital possibilities. They maybe can help us to talk about our present. And I think it's much more complicated to talk about our feelings right now. I talked in the beginning, how I feel between the Facebook, my Facebook, Twitter, this real body and all these cyber things I'm also in. And I think these stages is sometimes not enough to talk about our present. And there we're looking for how we can connect with these digital tools to become better in telling about our present and our problems maybe.
In Facebook, you can also now with as Facebook bought Oculus, you have that like really cool Facebook hangout room, so social VR for Oculus and Facebook, and you can even like tweet in Facebook there, so you can take selfies in VR and then tweet them to your like put them in your post bucket, and then you get it on your timeline and things like these. So in the beginning, VR was also like really basic. So there was a room, there were things, and now it's like getting there to integrate social media and all that other stuff to VR, and then post it out from VR again to the reality, stuff like that. So which also, like you said, that you have Twitter things now, Twitter feeds in theater performances. Now it's also that in VR this is getting integrated. So yeah, super crazy.
Okay, I think the sentence, "the stage is not enough," is a good cue to open to the questions to the audience, if there are any. Is there anybody with a question to one of our speakers? Okay. If not, I guess we still have a little bit time left to talk about it. And another topic that I would really like to know more about is that those new technologies for theater, but also the theater for VR, require new kinds of collaborations. So you need, as you mentioned already, you need a much more interdisciplinary team at a theater. You also need to collaborate. I think you do have a collaboration with a technology collective as well. Maybe you can tell a little bit about the collaboration there.
Yeah. We have a constant collaboration with Toto and Markus Schubert and Vanya Christoph. They designed the software, and this is the software we use here. And Markus Schubert designed the software for Spiel des Lebens, Game of Life, and also is creating the software for Monipolo. And it's quite interesting, the dialogue we are having, because some of us from the Princip Gonzo team, they are very into technologies, and others need more time to understand the language. So we actually learning a new language, and not only we learn a new language, they also learn a new language. And it's interesting that sometimes it's really hard to understand for that one side doesn't understand why things take time, actually, because we think it's selbstverständlich.
Self-explanatory, or it's...
Thank you, yeah, that these things work. And for example, we are, usually in day life, we are used to use things that work when we have an app, and what we experience now is that you have to test things and and again to improve it. So it's like rehearsing on the theater. You also have to rehearse when you work with technologies, and that was new. And now we are rehearsing together. But that's very good, and a very good exchange and necessary. Yeah.
So there's a question from the audience.
I have a question with the 360 degrees in the theater. where is the audience?
Oh, the audience sit. There are two sides: the inside view, the bathroom and the sleeping room, and there's 100 people sitting on one side and 100 on the other side who see the street side. And after 1 hour, they have to change their position and see from another point of view. And they change a few times in the evening. And there are 2 intermissions in this show. And during these 8 minutes, the people can walk around and choose their next point of view.
For the Sleep No More has something that's also similar in these rooms, but you travel as an audience. But where is the screen? So the audience sits, and then there's also
there's the room, and then up there, there's 3 screens above the rooms. So, and on one stream, there's everything, the live camera who's going around. And the other 2 is sometimes the live camera, sometimes texts, or sometimes things past a live camera from one round before, so that you can change between past and present.
Sorry.
But audience can only one side.
The audience sit for 1 hour on one side.
Yeah.
They can choose, and then they can
But
change.
Immer only one side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another question here.
My question is more common one concerning the role of the audience, and I wanted to know how all of you set the role of the audience into their pieces, also as a classical spectator, and also as myself was getting in tweet-ups a lot of times, as a user of technology in a piece. So how do you think of an audience as not only as a spectator but also as a participation? And how do you, we all here are very early adopters at least, but in visiting a theater there are lots of people who are not that common with media stuff. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I would answer that question that for us, for example, in Spiel des Lebens, in Game of Life, we always said the evening would not happen if the player, the audience, would not agree to play or to be an actor. But it was not about playing really like a role or a new character. You don't have to do this. You just have to decide where you go next. And for example, you entered our room, and first you went to school, or you got an ID in the beginning, and then after school you could decide whether you went to university, or if you had enough money you could also go to the island, or you went to the fitness center, because we had 3 elements. It was money, karma, and health, where you could gain points. In each room, you could get or lose points in these 3 elements. And there was a big screen with the ranking, and there you could always see where you were. And you could run around in this world as you liked. In every room, we had a performer. And they were there to organize the game as puppet masters. and they had a telephone to scan your ID and to enter what you lose or gained. But you were not only a spectator. I mean, if you liked, you could also just stay at the bar and watch the thing for 3.5 hours. But what we want is the active audience, the responsible audience. Yeah.
I see. And my question was getting some steps before. As you mentioned, then the visitor has always taken the decision. I take part in this. I have fun gaming and playing. And my question was more, how do you tell the potential spectators, even the classical audience, come and play with me?
That was quite difficult, actually. Not to get them. I mean, as we started, and then when people realized what that was, it went very quickly. The word was spread, and people came and knew what to do. But before we started, as long as it is called theater, it's still, people are still expecting sitting on a chair. But I think it's about to change, because many immersive projects are around and people are getting used to it. But it took a time that they realized that they wouldn't sit on chairs. Yeah. We explained everything, wrote text, and even on everywhere we could, we tried to explain you gonna be active. We don't have chairs.
I think there are much more questions to those transformations. Unfortunately, our time is up now. Please give an applause and thank all our speakers of today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.